Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm back to taking more of your questions in a segment of Ask Judy. If you are enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe. A question here from Tim Turner, who says, I am new to the channel, so welcome and thank you so much for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. So you finally have a question. You have mentioned how the only opportunity to watch back then was during the television broadcast. I also recall there was screening of the first two episodes. Interesting. I'd like to know how it is that you know there were screenings of the first two episodes. Please do fill me in. But I believe we did screen the first episode, but beyond that, I didn't even remember we screened the second one. We did not. So you continue to say, so you have read the script, you have acted out your parts in somewhat random order. Yes, definitely random order. The episodes were filmed weeks before airing. I guess my long-worded question is, did you get the opportunity to see a finished episode before moving on to the next? We did not, ever, because we had to shoot ahead because all of the editing had to happen. But we just went episode to episode to episode in terms of the filming. So we spent 6.5 days filming an episode. If we finished, say we started on a Monday, so we would finish the next episode on Tuesday, midday at lunchtime. And then a new director would start on a new episode on that Tuesday afternoon. So that would be the half day of the next episode. So we would just roll right on to the next episode. Well, it might be several weeks before the edit and the sound and everything that went on in post-production was finished on that first episode. So it would be sometime further down the line before we ever could see that. So even if they had screened them, they wouldn't have screened them. They wouldn't have had them together to screen before we went on to the next episode. So you really just had to know your character and know the relationships you were building. And as we went along, that became easier and easier. And fortunately, because the children in particular, had more time together in the homecoming, we already knew those dynamics and we built those bonds. So it was much easier for all of us. And the adults were pros, so they stepped in. And of course, Richard had been there. So I think those rhythms were easy for them to step into as well. So you finish by saying, I think it would be frustrating to never see the finished product before moving on to the next episode. I think it was not so much seeing it and needing to know how it came together as that in some cases, because they weren't available to screen or to view or to record, some of them I just plain never saw if I wasn't home on a Thursday night. So that now with the advent of recordings and being able to purchase DVDs or rent them, all that kind of thing makes it so much easier for all of us to view things and to watch them sequentially. And because our show was not serialized, I think it was easier. Each episode was a standalone episode, so I think it was less important to remember and move forward from what had just happened. Question here from Rhea Dance 75. The Warner Brothers lot is a huge campus. How big is it actually, and has it grown since the 70s? I don't know what the square footage of the studio is. Its back lot is not as big as I think some studios, but it certainly covers quite a bit of acreage and has, I think, about 28, 29, maybe 30 sound stages. So pretty good sized studio. Has it grown since then? I think, well, the space itself couldn't because it's contained within a residential area. I think that they perhaps added additional spaces. They've certainly added more and more office buildings related to the studio, but those are not filming spaces as much as production offices and things like that. So that has expanded around the area. And then that they have taken away our back lot area, not the whole exterior set area, but where we filmed the jungle area and Drusilla's Pond and the exterior of the house and the bus stations and things like that. All of that area was taken away to put up office buildings and parking lots to accommodate all of the production companies working on the studio lot. So always hate to lose back lots, but progress is progress. So then, how were loud noises for outdoor scenes such as crashes, explosions, etc., handled so that one area's noises didn't bleed over into another show's filming outside at the same time? I'm sure there was a coordination on the studio. I don't know. I don't recall there being big explosions or anything like that. I don't remember those kinds of sounds interfering with our work. It was more of a trick when there were 2 and sometimes 3 companies shooting on that back lot. So we might be at our house exterior and somebody might be filming at Drusilla's Pond. I've talked about that with, say, the Dukes of Hazzard company, that if their cars were running, if their General Lee was running, then we might hear that engine noise over on our set. But assistant directors had walkie-talkies, there were red lights, there were bells. So I think that there was always channels on the walkie-talkies where companies could let other companies know that they were about to start rolling. So we would try as much as possible to respect the other companies shooting. The actual take of a scene was pretty quick. It might be 30 seconds, might be a minute, might be a couple of minutes. So you could hold loose and do things that were quieter for that period of time. We did not have to freeze on our set, but you might just not start a car or truck or do something like that. But we could actually be filming at the same time, provided we coordinated that way. Then your other question is, out of all the questions asked since starting your Waltons YouTube channel, what was the most interesting pieces of new information you've learned that you didn't know previously? I love your channel. Thank you so much for continuing it. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. So things I've learned, I didn't give a lot of thought to the technical aspects of the filming. I was aware of things going on, but I think I wasn't aware of how much I wasn't paying attention to until people started asking questions. And I thought, oh, I don't know that. So John Dayton has been a wealth of information because he was on the other side and knew a lot of those technical things and saw the putting together of the production from a different perspective than I did. So I've learned a lot from what he has shared. So that's been invaluable to me and been such fun to learn. In interviewing castmates, talking with Cammie and David, hearing them talk about how they ran all over the lot and pretended that they were gangsters or would pretend to have shootouts on sets on the studio lot. Those things, I don't remember if I knew that they were doing that, and what fun. Or talking with Cammie or Mary and having them talk about how they thought I was really cool and they wanted to be like me. And I was so oblivious to all that. I just thought I was just annoying. And so we have a different perspective of things because we didn't have a reason to have those conversations back then and haven't really since then. We've had different kinds of conversations. So those types of things are interesting to me. The other thing I've in looking back is it has put into perspective some of what went on for me during some of those awkward years, going through my teen years while filming, and a lot of how I viewed things at the time, and recognizing what a brat I was at times and how self-absorbed I was, and things that maybe I don't look back and admire about myself, but and even in looking back at press clippings and things like that as I've been preparing episodes, there's things that I'm just, oh my goodness, I can't believe I said or did that. And so I think it's helped me grow as a person. I do know that I've had an evolution since the series ended, and I think hopefully we do learn and grow as people, and that with more knowledge and wisdom and interaction with people and maturity, that I keep trying to be a better person. And as I see certain things about myself that I don't admire, I try to do better. So I think that things like that are very personal to me about doing this. And then your questions have shed light on things for me that just make me view the whole experience a lot differently. So this has been really wonderful for me as well. So thank you all. This is a combined experience for all of us. This question from Dave, CGS. When you were in the pincushion scene, he's referring to the test where Olivia was using Mary Ellen as a mannequin as she was pinning a hem on a dress for Miss Mamie. Okay, you were standing the entire time. I can imagine feeling a bit tired from all those takes since you had to stand the entire time. Was that true in your case? Were you tired from all the standing, or did you... each take wasn't very long, so sometimes standing for rehearsal is longer than the standing for the filming of it. But we shot scenes in television. We moved fast, so we maybe did 2 or 3 takes on that. So I certainly wasn't standing for very long. And even for the rehearsal process, it wouldn't have been that long. So I appreciate the concern, but I was also, what was I, maybe 15, 16. So not a big deal at that age to have to stand for 20, 30 minutes. Then you also asked if I was actually poked with a pin. No, I was not. So that was indeed acting. So if it seemed like I really was, then it means I was doing my job well. Your other question is, how does one become a stand-in? And there was a union, the Extras Guild, and they also handled stand-ins, and even sometimes through the Actors Union, actors might choose to be a stand-in if they just for an opportunity to be on sets and do more work and get paid. So that's where they came from. Then if you get lines, does that mean that you get a SAG card and are paid extra? Yes, it would be true, but you would have to, stand-ins generally had union cards anyway. And then yes, anytime you spoke, then you were no longer a stand-in because you were on camera, so then you were an actor, or so you would be classified differently and paid differently for that work. Otherwise, are stand-ins paid? Yes, they are. Can you actually make a living out of it, or do people use it to work their way into acting? I think a little bit of both. Sometimes I think people feel like that's an opportunity to be on sets and learn and meet people, network, and hope that they'll get an opportunity to maybe do a little scene, maybe that'll lead to something else. But some people who, many of our stand-ins were with us for years and years and years. So yes, for that period of time, they were making a living as a stand-in. But if you're freelancing, that may not be the case. And many shows, the majority of shows, don't last 9 seasons like ours did. So then you're back to hoping to get picked up on another show. But you get to know people connected with crews and production companies. And so whoever makes those decisions about who they bring in as stand-ins, if they know you, you've done good work, you're reliable, then they might recommend you when they're on another show and they're looking to bring in stand-ins. That's what I have for you for this segment of Ask Judy. Thanks for putting your questions in the comments for me to explore. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.